Dear students, warm welcome to this English session. In the last session, we started discussing the chapter Quest for a Theory of Everything by Kitty Gale Ferguson. 3 paragraphs have already been discussed. In this session, we try to discuss the next few paragraphs in the chapter Quest for a Theory of Everything by Kitty Gale Ferguson. Listen to this reading. Stephen William Hawking was born on 8th January 1942 in Oxford, England. It was exactly 300 years after the death of Galileo, the father of modern science. Frank and Isabel Hawking, Stephen's parents were not wealthy, but they believed in the value of education. So they planned for Stephen to go to Westminster, a famous public school in the heart of London. Unfortunately, Stephen was ill at the time of the scholarship examination for Westminster. Therefore, he attended the local St. Albans school. Stephen Hawking was born on 8th January 1942. It is stated in the text that it was exactly 300 years after the death of Galileo Galilei, the father of modern science. There were so many mysterious or strange coincidences in his birth and death. He was born on the 300th death anniversary of Galileo Galilei, and Stephen Hawking died on March 14th, 2018. It was the 139th birth anniversary of Albert Einstein. Stephen Hawking is widely hailed as the second Einstein. Another striking coincidence was that both Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein died at the age of 76. In the next paragraph, we find some idea about his parents. His parents were Frank and Isabel Hawking. They were not wealthy, but they believed in the value of education. Just think about our parents. Most of the parents in this area who belong to the immigrant community believe in the value of education. And that is the reason why they send their children to good schools, and after your higher secondary examination, most probably you will be sent to some prestigious institutions, colleges, universities in Kerala, as well as the institutions outside Kerala, in states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and even to Delhi. Some parents will send their children to some famous institutions abroad, in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, etc. Our parents also believe in the value of education, and it is stated in the text that the parents of Stephen Hawking, even though they were not wealthy, they believed in the value of education. So they planned to send him to a very famous school, the Westminster School, situated in the heart of London. Unfortunately, at the time of the scholarship examination for Westminster, Stephen Hawking fell ill and he couldn't attend the scholarship examination. And as a result, he attended the local St. Albans school. Now I move on to the next few paragraphs in the text. Listen to this reading. By the time he was 8, he was thinking seriously about becoming a scientist. Frank Hawking encouraged his son to follow him into medicine, but Stephen found biology too imprecise. He wanted a subject in which he could look for exact answers and get to the root of things. young Stephen was no prodigy. He was just an ordinary English schoolboy, slow in learning to read, his handwriting the despair of his teachers. He was ranked no more than halfway up in his class, though he now says in his own defense, it was a very bright class. When he was just 8, he was thinking seriously about becoming a scientist. Most of us didn't have any dreams, any hopes, any aspiration when we were just 8. We didn't have any idea about our career when we were just 8. But Stephen Hawking, when he was just 8, he was thinking seriously about becoming a scientist. His father wanted him to follow the field of medicine. But Stephen Hawking found the subject biology too imprecise, a subject without any precision, a subject without any exactness, because for Stephen Hawking, the theories in biology were constantly changing. He wanted to pursue his studies in a subject which was more precise, so that he could look for exact answers and could get into the root of things. Subjects like physics, chemistry, maths, accountancy, etc. can be considered as subjects with precision. We get exact answers. Think about maths. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. The answer is always precise, always exact. He wanted to pursue his studies in a subject which could give exact answers and he could get into the root of things. In the next paragraph, it is stated that he was not a prodigy. Prodigy means a young person with exceptional qualities and abilities. He was not a prodigy. He was just a mediocre student in his class. He was very slow in learning to read, and the handwriting was the despair of his teachers. It was hopeless. Teachers knew that it was almost impossible for them to improve his handwriting. It was the despair of his teachers. And in the class, he was a middle-ranked student. Later, in his defense, he said that it was a very bright class. Most of the students in his class were so clever, so intelligent, so bright. That was his remark to defend himself. That was his remark to support himself, to protect himself. Now we will go through the next few paragraphs. At 14, Stephen knew that he would pursue mathematics and physics. His father called this impractical, for there were no jobs in mathematics except teaching. Moreover, he wanted his son to attend his own college, and Oxford offered no mathematics. He followed his father's advice and studied chemistry, physics, and only a little mathematics in preparation for the entrance into Oxford. He did well in physics, and the interview was brilliantly accepted. In 1959, at the age of 17, Hawking went to Oxford to study natural science and to specialize in physics. He joined University College, his father's college, and the oldest at Oxford, founded in 1249 AD. At 14, Stephen Hawking decided to pursue mathematics and physics. For him, these two subjects could give him exact answers. But Stephen's father found this too impractical. For him, it was not sensible. It was unrealistic because it was difficult to find jobs for mathematics except in teaching. And moreover that he wanted his son to pursue his higher studies at his own college, Oxford. But Oxford did not offer mathematics. So Stephen Hawking followed the advice of his father and studied physics, chemistry, and a little mathematics in preparation for the entrance into Oxford. He did well in physics and his interview was brilliantly accepted. So at the age of 17, he went to University College, the oldest college in the Oxford University, which was established in the year AD 1249. There he decided to study natural science and specialize in physics. Now we will go through the next few paragraphs in the profile. Listen to this reading. Nevertheless, for about a year and a half, Hawking was lonely and bored. He was not inspired to relieve his boredom by exerting himself academically. But halfway through his second year, he began enjoying Oxford. He became popular and well accepted among his peers. They remember him as lively, buoyant, and adaptable. He wore his hair long, was famous for his wit, liked classical music and science fiction, and took part in sports. At the age of 17, in the year 1959, he joined Oxford University, the University College at Oxford. However, for the first 1.5 years, he felt lonely and bored. He couldn't relieve his boredom by exerting himself academically. Usually, some bright students, they relieve their boredom. They make their boredom less serious or severe by applying themselves academically. They will study intensely and try to relieve their boredom and loneliness. But for Stephen Hawking, it was not possible, it was almost impossible. He was unable to relieve his boredom by exerting himself academically. But halfway through the second year at Oxford, he started enjoying the campus life. He became well accepted and popular among his peers, among his classmates, among those students who belonged to the same group. His peers found him very lively. He was very energetic, very active. He was very enthusiastic. He was very lively. The second expression used there is buoyant, and the last one adaptable. He was lively, buoyant, and adaptable. He was very active, he was very energetic, he was buoyant. Buoyant, most of the science students may have some idea about the expression buoyancy, buoyant, the buoyancy of water, the ability to keep afloat or the ability to rise to the top of a liquid or water. This is called buoyancy. Here it means he was very cheerful. He was very enthusiastic, and another word is used there, he was very adaptable. That means he could adjust to new conditions. He could easily adjust to new conditions. He wore his hair long. He was very famous for his wit. What do you mean by wit? Wit is a humorous remark, at the same time it is very intelligent. That means it is slightly different from humor. It is humorous at the same time an intelligent remark, and he was famous for his wit. He liked classical music, science fiction, and also he took part in sports. Now I shall read the next paragraph. However, at the end of the third year, Hawking almost floundered. He selected theoretical physics as his specialty. He had then applied to do a PhD at Cambridge and was accepted on condition that he got a first from Oxford. Hawking was confident that he could get through successfully, but as the examination day approached, his confidence failed. Hawking ended up disastrously on the borderline between a first and a second. Halfway throughout the second year at Oxford, he started enjoying the campus life, but towards the end of the third year, again he floundered. He struggled mentally. His confidence failed him. He selected theoretical physics and applied to do a PhD at Cambridge. His application was accepted on condition that if he got a first from Oxford, he could do a PhD at Cambridge. Initially, he was very confident that he could get a first, but when the examination day approached, he lost his confidence and he failed miserably in the examination. And he had to satisfy himself with a borderline result. His result was on a borderline between a first and second. Just listen to one more paragraph. Faced with a borderline result, the examiners summoned Hawking for an interview and questioned him about his plans. In spite of the tenseness of the situation, Hawking managed to come up with the kind of remark for which he was famous among his friends. If I get a first, I shall go to Cambridge. If I receive a second, I will remain at Oxford. So I expect that you will give me a first. He got his first and he went to Cambridge. He got a borderline result. But the examiners knew that he was a brilliant student. So he was summoned, he was called by the examiners for an interview. They asked him about his plans. In spite of the tenseness of the situation was very tensed because everything depended on that interview. But Stephen Hawking was able to come up with a witty remark for which he was very famous among his peers. If I get a first, I shall go to Cambridge. If I receive a second, I will remain at Oxford. I hope you will give me first. This is a witty remark because he indirectly, humorously stated that if he remained in Oxford, it would be a headache for the teachers there. He humorously stated that he would be a perpetual nuisance for the professors at Oxford. He got his first and he went to continue his studies at Cambridge. He went to do a PhD at Cambridge. In the next session, we will discuss some of the problems that he faced in his life and how he tried to overcome all those problems in his life to become the supernova of physics, to become one of the brightest stars in physics. That's all for the day. Thank you.